Time to delve into the world of Doctor Who theories. This could get messy. Hello guys, welcome back to New Who HQ. I am Matt, and today we are going to be discussing some of your theories and some theories that I've thought of myself, because I don't like to talk too much about stuff that isn't actually real, but at the same time it's quite interesting. I thought it was a way to kind of try and get my subscribers involved. Now, I got a few responses. I'm not a very big channel, so you know, a few people is what I expected. I'm very, very thankful for them people, but who knows, maybe one day I could do one where I get a few more people, because I am just so interested for people's wacky sort of posts. So I did put a post on my community thing and got a few responses, so yes. So this was from the Time Shadow 6769 with Mrs. Flood is River Song, Amy Pond River Song, Mrs. Flood. Yes, this is quite a new theory I've seen coming around basically ever since Mrs. Flood appeared on the screen. So for a few months now, I actually did sort of include this as a possibility in my Who is Mrs. Flood video, where I didn't say it was, I didn't really agree with it, but I also didn't say it wasn't out of the question that could happen. So let's think about it realistically. How likely is this to happen? I think in terms of in real life, it's quite possible to bring out River Song. She has said she would happily come back. I think in a Doctor Who world, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Now, firstly, River Song is a Stephen Moffat character. She was introduced in Russell T Davies' era, but that episode was written by Stephen Moffat and she was utilised and her story came to an end, and a lot more depth. Everything that was kind of like, you know, the more juicy details of her getting married to the 11th Doctor, etc., to her time with the 12th Doctor was all done by Moffat. So you kind of do sense that Moffat is River Song is a Moffat character. And whilst Moffat is coming back to write an episode, he is no longer the showrunner, and you kind of feel like, would Russell be sort of okay with that, with bringing up a character that he didn't really create and to carry on the story? But also, it kind of is the end of her story. Her timeline is quite obviously all over the place. The first time you meet her, she dies, so you know straight away, wibbly wobbly timey wimey is all over the place. So I think in terms of you can make anything happen in Doctor Who time wise if you really put your mind to it. But I do think that there is a gap somewhere that she could fit in. We still need to see her having lunch with Jim the Fish. Don't think it's ever going to happen. But yeah, the main fear of this came from obviously Mrs. Flood with River Song and Amy Pond. So water-based names has started this theory. In terms of how likely I think this is, I think it's unlikely. It's a very, very good theory though, so absolutely love this theory. But I think River Song could come back, but maybe not linked to Mrs. Flood in any way. Okay, next theory from this person. Don't know who you are at all, never heard of you. So this comment says that the Weeping Angels are Time Lords. All angels are actually punished Time Lords, forced to spend eternity in angel form, feeding off the time energy of victims to keep themselves alive. And that also got a comment saying, actually, that's a pretty good theory. Now this theory I've heard of, this is going to sound a bit weird, I've heard of the reason why this theory was started because of something that was said in the show, but I've never heard it sort of turned into a theory where it's possible. Kind of does make sense. How likely is it? I do think it's unlikely, but I really like the idea of it. And I feel like if this was a true theory, it would have been addressed by now because of how far back this is sort of referenced. But I'll give you a little bit of background detail on this. So in The End of Time, which was David Tennant's finale, all the way back at the end of Series 4. So Rassilon, who's the president of Gallifrey, was going to be punishing two Time Lords, and Rassilon said the way they were going to be punished was like the Weeping Angels of old. Yes, so I think firstly, Time Lords and Weeping Angels are both very, very old. Weeping Angels have been here from the beginning. And they both can time travel, and they both have obviously very, unusual abilities compared to ordinary, just general things. So I can see the link there, and I like the idea that you're being punished, you are frozen to stone. I absolutely love this idea of the Fury. I just think if this was definitely a thing, it would have been brought up. You know, the Time Lords could have easily and accidentally created the angels who travelled far and wide throughout the cosmos and the temporal vortex to place themselves at timeless myths and legends, given the ability to exist outside of the time-locked event of the Time Lord. Now look, angels are quite complicated when it comes to time. I'm not going to dig into this too deep, so I'm going to move on to the next one.
Are you feeling?
Yeah.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think if we think about the angels too deeply and sort of with time, they're very, very complicated creatures, and so are Time Lords, so it just gets a little bit complicated and you drive yourself crazy. I think there's a really, really good theory. Thank you very much for commenting it, but I think if it was... I think it's something that could have been explored, definitely. I feel like it's strong enough to have a good plot hold, but not now. Okay, the next comment. This one, and I'm allowed to, you know, disagree with this because I know the person is, yeah, again, thank you very much for commenting it. It's an interesting comment. River Song had to die, otherwise the Doctor would have been too powerful and they could have never brought in any new companions. Now, when we first met River Song in Silence of the Library and her death in Forest of the Dead, it was obviously very, very sad, and we knew a little bit about her, but we were sort of hinted at that you will see me in the future at some point, and we did with Matt Smith, quite a bit during Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi. And I guess the audience always knew she was going to die because we saw how it ends, how she dies. And I guess when Matt Smith married her, goodness me, Series 6, is that right? Series 6? Sorry if I'm wrong. If they got married, then they could have gone off together and been fine. And whilst I don't think this would have stopped companions still coming in, because technically we did have River Song, Amy and Rory, you know, the Doctor and his wife and the 2 companions, and it worked out very, very well. The dynamic was great, and they made the show fantastic in Series 6, you know, their dynamics between each other. I understand that maybe once Amy and Rory died, but obviously then just found out the River was sort of linked to Amy and Rory, but she could have gone on with the Doctor, and if they're husband and wife, they're not just gonna, you know, stuff could have happened to her, etc. But I think I do kind of agree that she did have to die, otherwise she could have stayed on, but also Doctor Who would have found a way to get rid of her in some way. She had to come back to prison, so yeah, River Song's timeline is something which also is very, very mad. But yeah, I mean, that's I kind of agree and disagree with it in terms of how likely, well, I mean, it's happened now, so it's not like how likely it is, but I'm quite happy with how it went anyway, so yeah. Okay, another comment from the same person, with them commenting, the Master is a later/earlier regeneration of the Doctor, maybe during the Time War, and acts as a physical version of an inner demon to the Doctor. Love this idea. It's not possible. I say that, this is Doctor Who, it could very much be possible. I don't think it is. We know the Master's relation to the Doctor, we know they grew up with each other on Gallifrey, they are friends, brothers, enemies, however you want to say it, but they're not the same person. I think in terms of the physics behind it, it's not possible, but the idea, I like. And there are little hints of, actually, this could even maybe be true. I'm not saying it is true, but it's not a completely far-fetched sort of theory, if you know what I mean. We have seen the Doctor be messed up. The Time War did that. The Time War was the consequence of that. And, you know, you could argue Capaldi, some of the decisions he made, some of how he would speak, would correlate to how the Master would be. When Matt Smith says about the skirt being a little bit, you know, is it too tight or too high? Something like that. Something which completely got everyone off guard. Maybe that was the Master sparking through. Maybe it was the Master coming through. There's a very deep connection between the Doctor and the Master, which I love to be explored as much as I feel like the Master is always coming back and everyone gets annoyed. I do like their relationship. With every incarnation of the Master and the Doctor, they all play off each other fantastically because they get the history. And they know it's a big deal when these two meet. So the idea of them being the same person. I mean, this comment isn't saying the same, you know, they're a later or an earlier regeneration of them. So I think is something that could honestly happen. Not impossible, I guess. You know, we sort of, when John Sim came back, no one expected that, to have two masters. So, yeah. Okay, the last one from the video, from this person here. It's a long comment, let's give it a little read. The Toymaker has been gambling with the Master in various games for years, rearranging everything to bend the Master's mind to his whim. If Gallifrey stands, there's no clean slate to play with, but he has a backup plan. His prizes are not prizes. I, in fact, am slowly delving into this theory, but from something called #TheMissus. I'm not sure what that is, nor have I probably said it right. But from a more concerned perspective, the one the Toymaker wanted from the start. Technically it is New Who, but it does have only one link to the original episode because of course the New Who staff did do the research. Yeah, I mean, I obviously do research in my videos, and I was a little bit stumped on how to sort of answer this and what to think about it. Because I'm not massive on Classic Who. I promise I will start it one day, but in terms of what I know from New Who, the Toymaker is something, obviously, I'm very aware the Toymaker is from Classic Who, but we saw him very, very recently in The Giggle. And I guess I'm saying that we don't properly... I feel like there's still more to come from the Toymaker, like the calamity, the damage that he caused for the history of the show. I think there could be some knock-on effects. We know that the Toymaker had trapped the Master. The Master played one of his games and he lost. He was in his tooth. We saw that. There was also the person picking up sort of like tooth at the end of the episode, near the end, with the Master's laugh again, which was kind of like same sort of vibe. It was exactly the same colour on your nails. So that may be a hint about the Master, maybe. But I think that he's been gambling with the Master for several years. I'm trying to think in terms of New Who. I can't think of that, but I think that's something that I can't really comment about because it could literally be anything. It could be anything. It could be to do something with Missy and John Sim when they came back together again. Missy trying to be nicer but then going into Sacha Dhawan and being horrible and being back to his normal self. I mean, there are many decisions which the Master makes which you could blame on the Toymaker. I may not be understanding this comment. I really am trying to. I don't know about that one. That has generally stumped me a little bit. I think anything to do with the Toymaker I'm generally confused with because the Toymaker can do anything. He doesn't make sense. His abilities are endless and that's what makes everything confusing because he can do anything. Which means that there are no rules. So how can you properly set out a theory when there are no rules because it could just be bended? I think I'd love the Toymaker to be explored much more in the future, and maybe it will be in Ncuti's era. And maybe the Master and the Toymaker will be discussed more. But I think I like the idea of it. I want to sort of get myself a bit more clear about what it actually means, but I think I'd like to be explored more, and I think it could be done very well. So yeah, those are some theories. The last one is one that I came up with in my own mind because I had to think of something to say that I'm original, and I completely disagree with this myself. But I had to think of something off the top of my head while I was planning the video, and that was that the Doctor is half human. And I've managed to find some evidence which could suggest that this could be a real thing. By the way, I completely disagree with it, nor am I going to really be serious when I say I think it's a possibility. I don't. But it's Doctor Who. Mr. Smith, John Smith, Mr. Smith from the Sarah Jane Adventures. John Smith is something that's brought up quite a bit, especially throughout David Tennant. I believe other Doctors may use it, but that's his human name. The Doctor likes to be on Earth a lot. For someone, I understand that he has sort of made Earth his home, he's picked up a lot with his companions, he has a lot. He helps the Earth, he helps Una out, he helps Torchwood. He doesn't really like Torchwood, but he's there to help organisations on the planet, so he's kind of their friends and he kind of loves it. But what if maybe he's got this feeling in his stomach that that's just where he belongs because he's actually half human? Enough of me waffling, let's actually get into what the show has said as to this my theory not sounding completely ridiculous. Hellbent. That is where we're going to start and finish. So, watch this clip and then we'll talk about it.
By your own reasoning, why couldn't the hybrid be half Time Lord, half human? Tell me, Doctor, I've always wondered. You're a Time Lord, you're a highborn Gallifreyan. Why is it you spend so much time on Earth?
That's your best theory. I'm the hybrid. I'd run away from Gallifrey because I was afraid of myself. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense, and you know it. Am I right? Is it true?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I think that Moffat could very much just be playing with us here. He likes to do that, the show likes to do that, and make our theory sound absolutely ridiculous. Or maybe he's hinting that maybe it's true. I quite like the bit where the Doctor says, that's your best theory, I'm the hybrid. I ran away from Gallifrey because I was afraid of myself. That doesn't make any sense, with Ashildr saying, it makes perfect sense and you know it. Yeah, I think it's possible that he could run away from himself because he's the master. I'm joking. But the hybrid is the Doctor. Half human, half Time Lord. Or to be found out it was the Doctor and Clara. But I guess I'm just really pulling on something here. I'm trying to hang on to a little bit of string, but I know I've flunked this theory. But I gave it a go anyway. Obviously, if you didn't get a shout, thank you everyone that commented. If you didn't see my post or you want to get involved, you can comment down below. I'm happy to do it. Happy to engage in the comments. Really, really happy with that. And, possibly could do another video like this again one day. So we will see. No doubt more theories will be driven up with the new series is coming out in the next few years. Stuff with Mrs. Flood, the Toymaker, which could be addressed, made a bit more clearer. A few of the questions answered, so who knows. But yeah, if you subscribe if you're new, and give this video a like, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.